comes to Brazilian mixed martial arts, the most plentiful harvest of practitioners can be gathered from the Gracie family tree. The first generations of the Gracie dynasty studied martial arts in the early part of the last century. They then developed their own Brazilian style of combat, which, mixed with valtudo, which means anything goes, laid the foundation for what is MMA today. In the 1990s, the family developed no-rules street fighting into professional mixed martial arts tournaments. The tournaments in turn spawned such categories as the Ultimate Fighting Championship in the USA and Japan's Pride Bushido.
The Gracie family were very important to mixed martial arts, not only in Brazil, but worldwide. The Gracies opened up martial arts, which until then had been shrouded in mystery and not very clear.
It's widely accepted that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is what made MMA what it is today. But there is another style of fighting which developed alongside it, which came from a very different background.
Luta livre is everything. It's the essence and the beginning of everything. It's said it can be traced back to ancient times, that luta livre is everywhere. The Indians and the Greeks both had luta livre, and nowadays the whole world is practicing luta livre.
Luta livre, which means free fighting, is a complete martial art and was concocted in Rio de Janeiro by Euclides Hatem. Combining catch-as-catch-can wrestling with judo and various forms of striking, it is, first and foremost, a submission grappling form of combat, where competitors use joint locks and chokes to make their opponents submit.
Luta livre has developed into a style of fighting that uses submission combat to immobilize an opponent and thus end a bout. In a match, we tend to aim for the neck, the joints of the arms and wrists, and even the knee to get the better of our opponent, to make him submit. And because there are so many possible ways to do it, this is not so much about physical strength, but about technique.
Considered the poor cousin to Gracie-style Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Luta livre has had a colourful past. In the 1940s, Hatem defeated George Gracie in a series of bouts. In 1959, João Alberto Barreto, an assistant teacher at the Gracie Academy, had his arm broken by a Luta livre fighter named Juarez Vinagre after refusing to tap out. However, in recent times, practitioners of the two disciplines have put aside their differences.
Nowadays, the techniques are really mixed, because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has borrowed a lot from Luta livre, and, in return, Luta livre has borrowed from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so they're almost united. The only differences stem from the culture of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When the guys train without a kimono, they call it submission. But, in truth, it's really the same as what we do. They just don't attack the lower limbs as much.
Mixed martial arts is a burgeoning sport and business. With its flagship organisation, the UFC, outselling the likes of NASCAR, NFL and baseball in pay-per-view sales in the USA, it's not hard to see why many Brazilian fighters head overseas. They make up 25% of the top 60 fighters in the world rankings, with many of them holding world titles. One such fighter is Luciano Azevedo, the current Cage Gladiators lightweight champion.
When you win abroad, it's something special because people have the pleasure of watching it on TV. Unfortunately, there isn't that much support for it here in Brazil. However, when you fight overseas and are victorious, it's a different feeling to when you fight at home in Brazil.
Having spent much of its existence in the shadow of Gracie-influenced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Luta Livre is now becoming more and more popular, with fighters from all backgrounds recognizing the effect the discipline has had on mixed martial arts.
Luta Livre's greatest problem used to be that it came from the poor part of Rio de Janeiro, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was from the rich side. But nowadays, Luta Livre is finding its own space, because people are beginning to understand that what they do in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is really the same as our own discipline.
It seems that when you toss this particular coin, whichever side it lands on, the result is often the same.